I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to speak to us about such important experience that I'm sure that everybody will be able to take something from this call tonight. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. That's watching live, that's watching on a replay. It's awesome to have you guys here. And Kobie is one of South Africa's few bodybuilding pros. After spending some real time with this big guy in my earlier years, while I'm wearing this shirt, bring back some memories of the old
Yeah.
days. I had the privilege to gym with Kobie for a few years, and I can tell you all that he's one of the most focused and goal-driven people that I have ever spent some time with. So I hope you all will enjoy this. So, Kobie, can you please take about 5 minutes and tell us a bit about how your phenomenal career started and walk us through what's next in the pipeline for you?
How my career started. Okay, so I've been doing bodybuilding since I would say about 2009. It was the first time I was on stage. It was yeah, that show really knocked me hard, man. You know, everybody always when you do well, they think it happened overnight, or you just stepped on stage and you started winning, and it's not like that at all. It's a very hard climb to the top, man.
Yeah.
So when I started the first show, I remembered my number was number 6, and I was so excited, you know, but you know, not to talk about the coaching or the training or anything I did back then, because it's all a learning curve, all of it, you know. So thanks kind of to all the people that helped me along the way, even if I wouldn't agree with some of the advice now, but I mean, that's only in hindsight, you know. You needed to see those things and live through those things to become whatever it is you're supposed to be. So at the first show, my number was 6. And I remember I dieted down the first time. I was about 36% body fat, around 100 and something kilos. And I dieted down and lost a lot of fats in 2008. In 2009, that first show, I weighed in 69 kilograms. So came down from about, that's about 30 kilograms drop. And that was a big achievement for me, you know. But I mean, if I had to look,
I'm going to stop you. Lucky I had the privilege to see some photos of you in those days holding some fishes where the bones are coming out your body.
yeah, you see,
Not like that anymore.
yeah. But you know, that first show, my number was 6, and I remember I was positive. I remember I felt good about what I achieved, but I think measuring it from where I came was maybe where the achievement came from for me, you know. But bodybuilding the stage, she's a hard mother, man. It's a tough thing. When you're on stage, the light, you can't hide anything. And I remember them saying, okay, great, we did some posing, went off stage. And then they called back to top 6, and they called back to top 6. I think we were maybe 7 or 8 or 9 people in the division. That's very long ago. And they called out the top 6, and they called it out number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then they skipped me at number 7. And I think I was the only guy left backstage, or one of 2 guys left backstage. And man, you kind of feel your heart in your throat then, thinking, what the hell have... And you're just in a... Yeah, man, that was my first experience of bodybuilding. But then I've never watched a show or anything. So the first time I was at a bodybuilding show was me on stage. From there on out, it expanded quite quickly, yeah.
Okay, and what is next in the pipeline for you? We know you've got your pro card, and is there any competitions in the near future that you're prepping for?
Yeah, I'm looking at... I competed last year, but last year was a tough year financially. So it put too much stress, or too much, I think, stress on the wrong stuff running up to the show. But it all needed to be done. So I think it's better if I take a little bit of time off this year. If it is just to kind of get resources back up to where it should be, because that's one thing with bodybuilding, is you need to save up and plan, man, and that gets it's part of the discipline. It's part of having good genetics and being able to train hard and all that kind of stuff. Having resources to be able to do this is also a big part. So even if well, that's when I started bodybuilding, I realized that. So I didn't have money for the food, I didn't have money for the supplements. So I had to try and find ways of getting around that or making more money. So I would work more jobs. I would do more things to try and make more money to, I would say, to make enough to cover the resources part of this game, I guess.
Yeah.
So next time, I think next time I'll go on stage is maybe 2020, because I do like the stage. I do enjoy competing, but my love is for the training in the gym. That's really working on that, I would say, final piece of art. You know, that idea I have of what I can do with this body. I think all of us have a certain type of God-given talent to develop yourself to the max. You know, I've developed you kind of to the max at some stage. What year was that when you took the stage? That was 2000 and
2014.
14. Yes, yeah, that's what, 5 years ago. And I remember, you know, when I think back about your prep, I remember your mother and your sister vividly. We were backstage, and you were just you walked on stage, and I remember peeping around the corner because I was also backstage with you, right? And when you walked on, I went to the front and I peeped around, and I saw how far ahead of the rest you were. I mean, it was a novice lineup. You were starting out. You also did the open lineup that night, where I think you had a little bit more competition. But when we got to the novice lineup, you were head and shoulders above the rest, you know. And I remember your mother and your sister backstage coming up to me saying, you know, are you sure you put him in the right division? I'm like, he's a starter. He's a beginner with this. So that was the novice division. I said, he's also in the open. I said, he's just that far ahead. So when you have the right tools, and at least you also, I remember our prep. I remember you also pitching up, what was it, a couple of days before, and I said, you're drying out quickly. We're going to have to put a little bit of a plan B on the next 2-3 days. And it worked beautifully, you know. So I'm happy with, I'm just thinking back about when you did the prep, But I remember, I think...
Yeah, you were talking just now about money issues, and in terms of how expensive it is to keep up your running diet and stuff like that. So I just wanted to quickly say out loud, if you only have money for either real food or gym, what will you choose?
So my resources, I wouldn't say the diet was the issue. I wouldn't say that would be the issue. I would say maybe more the flights, the accommodation, the time that because I'm busy 24/7. I'm not somebody that would, I do have an 8 to 5 job.
Entrepreneur with some magazines and clothing and line, eh?
Yeah, I do like, I've always believed when you do what you can do more, when you do a lot, you can do more kind of thing. The ding in Afrikaans, hulle sê, hoe meer jy doen, hoe meer kan jy doen. And that's the truth, you know. I'll put a little bit of Afrikaans in there because all my friends from overseas, they do like die Afrikaanse accent. Oral waar ek gaan, as die mense hoor jy praat Afrikaans, die hele tyd loer hulle so in die aisles af of hulle gooi hulle koppe so by die shops. So yeah, die mense like Afrikaans, bro. Anyway,
Okay.
So ons praat oor die resources. So ek sê eintlik die vlugte, actually the flights and accommodation overseas, that's the big thing. Getting your visa ready, all that kind of stuff, because a trip overseas, you can get if you can make a plan, your flights would cost you anything between 15 and maybe 20,000 rand, and that's just for you, a round trip. And then if you usually, it's not, I've done international trips. I went to Malta alone in 2015, and I've decided hey, Nat Pants, and I decided that I wouldn't do a trip like that alone again. You know, it's the nice thing is with having a partner, having, you know, Greta's my girlfriend, and it's nice having a companion to kind of share all of that with. Bodybuilding was nice, and I enjoyed the trips, but the one thing really is seeing everything there, experiencing it. It's nice to be able to share it. So now your expenses have doubled. You understand? So it's very difficult if you look at that. So now if you want to go do an international trip, which I need to do because I'm a professional, we do have local shows. This year is the first one, but I already decided to take a break this year. So I just said last year I would take a break, and then sponsors kind of pulled me out of my off season to do the show in America. But I put my foot down and I'm going to take a break this year. And next year I'll definitely compete. You know, you need to take a break, time off. So, so food, I don't think has ever been an issue. I do hear sometimes people say food is expensive. I think the prep food is expensive. I think it's because now you're spending the money when you're buying. Okay, I'm buying this week. I'm buying my chicken. I'm buying this. I'm buying that, and then it costs you $1,000, right? But when you go buy McDonald's or this or sweets or whatever, you don't add up the 100, 150 bucks, 200 bucks here, there. You don't add that up. You know, nobody adds it up. They just check at the end of the month, their account is empty, and then they hate themselves. They don't know where the money went. With bodybuilding, at least you know where your money is going.
Working towards a plan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
awesome. Tell me, what does your normal off-season diet, plus minus, looks like? And then just to give a quick explanation about what do we mean if we say in-season diet and off-season diet? Just a bit on that, please, man.
In-season and off-season. So, you know, when people talk about in and off seasons, I think they're always, it's a matter of perspective, I guess, because when you do bodybuilding, it kind of probably depends on what kind of bodybuilding you're doing. Are you doing the 3 months, I'm getting ready for a show, and then I disappear from the gym for 1 or 2 months and I pop in one, you know, there's lots, and then that's bodybuilding is the sport then, I guess, you know, if you're competing for shows and yeah. But when you're doing it, when I started doing it, I saw it as a very long trip. So I weighed in, as I said, under 70 kilograms my first show, and then I realized, and then only after that I started seeing what this bodybuilding stuff is, right? All these big guys. I said, oh, okay, so I want to do that. That I want to do. So for me to be able to do that, I would need to increase in muscle mass a lot. So I need to pick up, now I'm weighing at about 107, 108 kilos, and I'm probably about the same body fat as I was my first day on stage, if I think about it now. So, fuck's sakes, right? So that's about, what is that, 30 kilos I picked up? Oh, almost 40 kilos of muscle mass in the last, 9 years? Basically 10 years now, say 10 years. Which I'm happy with. I must say I'm happy with that. But it's because I think I've cycled through in and off seasons. But when I say in and off seasons, I don't mean I screw around in an off season. I would eat a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, or I would add some things where I feel I deserve a little bit of treat here and there. But it's only if I put in the work. If I'm not doing the work, then it's like I'm not eating. If I'm not working hard enough in the gym, if my consistency isn't good, then I can see it. I can see I'm not eating, I'm not training, I'm not. So, and that I don't see that in a week, or it doesn't take me a week to realize that. It doesn't take me 2 days to realize that. I realize that within hours. You've missed every 3 hours. With bodybuilding, you kind of have to be remotivated every hour on the hour. You know, it's what you do all the time. So when you see a meal coming up, you need to plan for that meal. When something happens 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock means 10 o'clock second meal had to be in. If it's 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, it means I've had to have at least 3 meals or 4 meals in. You know, that's when you look at your clock, what kind of goes through your head, because you've been doing this for so long, it's become part of what you do. I don't work out my calories anymore, because I would go randomly and just eat kind of off the top of my head, and it would always consistently stay between, you know, a certain amount of calories or whatever my goal is, or wherever I'm working, it would kind of stick to that within 500, I would say about 500 calorie range. I know it might irritate some of the people, you know, talking about macros, but it's literally a tool in bodybuilding. It's like not believing in dumbbells. It doesn't fucking make sense, right? It's like, if it's there, use it, okay? So I think in my in and off seasons, I don't have an off season. If I step on stage in 2020, I started working on that in 2009. You know, so there's never been an off season from building that final image of what I have in my head. An in season might be my consistency, right? In other words, then there won't be anything like a cheat meal, or depending on the type of condition I want to be in or what show I'm doing, there wouldn't be certain type of things. I would be a lot more some things you would sacrifice. Let's say that. But the one thing is I think I've also adopted a little bit of a stoic mindset, and maybe that, well, I think I've kind of grown up that way, but bodybuilding instills kind of an enjoyment in sacrificing here and there, and then seeing the benefits from that, you know, here and there, saying, no, you know what, I'm not going to eat this whole plate of whatever's in front of me. I'll only eat certain amounts I know that I can eat, you know, or whenever I'm at a spot and somebody's offering whatever they're offering, alcohol or food or whatever, it's no skin off my back, whatever, man. But for you, it starts off with being a sacrifice. And from you making these small sacrifices, you see the benefits in your life.
Yeah, that's very true. Thanks, Kobie. So when you kickstart a pre-prep for an event, how long before the time do you kickstart your pre-diet for the event? And then what does that plus minus look like? What do you cut off and what do you add? You know, what type of foods? What does that diet look like?
Yeah, you know, sometimes when people talk about preps or ask about preps, it's complicated. You know, let's say I'm prepping like you would want to prep to be the best condition you ever want to be in. So that really depends on where you're starting off. If you are out of shape, heavily out of shape, I would say heavily out of shape also, I guess, depends on how much muscle mass you're carrying. The more muscle you have, the quicker it seems to get rid of fat. Your body just consumes calories better. So let's say if I start getting ready, I like to start getting focused around about 20 weeks out, maybe 24 weeks. I like working on 24, 20, 16, 12, kind of those breakdowns, you know. So I would work them in phases, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, whatever. And then I would kind of start very high with calories, very high meaning, let's say I would be, I always kind of idle at about 8, maybe 8, between 7 and at the most 9 or 10% body fat. That will be my most off season. So for me, I would want to come down about 5 or 6%, or well, you know, there's so many theories running around about how low you can get, right, with body fat, whatever. So I just want, I don't even measure that stuff. I don't take body fat calipers. You can see in the mirror how you look. I don't have to take a body fat caliper or some shit to confuse myself with, or to try to convince myself of something that I'm not even seeing in the mirror, man. You know. So I would sometimes I would check my weight. I would definitely check centimeters. I think is important, because that sometimes shows you if you have genetic strengths and weaknesses, especially when you diet, where you lose weight quickly, you know. So if there's ways to counteract that, that'll be a good idea. So all of these little things I try to incorporate every 4 weeks. I try to reassess the work that I've done and the plan that I have moving forward. But I do kind of set down a plan for what I'm going to do the last 8 weeks. I put a plan down for that, at least in my mind, about 20 weeks out. So when I get to 8 weeks out, I would definitely start including cardio. I don't do that. If I do, again, this is if I had to kind of get the most peeled look, the most shredded look possible, then I'd say about 8 weeks out, I would do cardio. I wouldn't do that beforehand, but then again, I already weigh in the triple digits. So the heavier you are as a bodybuilder, your body consumes calories better. You do lose the fat a little bit better, easier. I think including a lot of cardio takes away from the size. It takes away from those, from that nice round full muscle that I think, well, what I like in bodybuilding. You know, why the art that I try to create, always trying to work on that flair, you know, the sweeps and that freaky kind of mass. First bodybuilders I ever saw, or first bodybuilder I think I ever saw was maybe Ronnie Coleman. And that blew my mind. That's impossible, man. So I'm building towards that, and I'll die trying. So I think 8 weeks out, at the latest, you know, to start maybe including some cardio. And a good idea is to kind of ramp up the cardio. So you don't have to make a lot of different changes, man. Start off your cardio at like a half an hour, about 4 times a week. I wouldn't do less than 4 days a week cardio. 4 days. Don't do 2 days twice. Don't waste your time. Rather do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday kind of thing. There's no lazy or smart way around the work that needs to be done. And people try to get smart 5-minute abs and all this shit, right? Like, yeah, man, whatever. But someone has to do the work. Okay, there's no pill for that. There's no trick for that. The work needs to be done. So for you to get off those, I would say I would start at about half an hour and then gradually increase it every 2 weeks, to either including days to do cardio at that half an hour extra, or just increase it to 45 minutes and then maybe to an hour. I've heard of some athletes that are putting 2 and 3 hours worth of cardio in before their shows, you know, to try and, but I don't believe in that. I think it's very catabolic, as I said, for me. Yeah, man. And for me, you know, cardio is, I don't run anywhere. So I would walk. I believe in uphill walking, inclined walking. I do like that. Wide stances, it helps for your legs, your sweeps, your glutes to kind of control that. And then I would just ramp that up, and I would definitely stop cardio about 2 weeks out. Because then again, it takes away from the fullness. I've noticed that if I leave it in longer, it does take away from my fullness. And my condition is just better if I stop it for long enough out and just keep my food consistent.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
My training stays the same. I'm always trying to grow. So yeah, I'm prepping for a show. Yeah. You know, maybe the last 2-3 weeks I kind of forgive myself. Like, okay, maybe you might not build muscle this week, right? But I always in the gym try to work to a certain type of level, I try to damage as much as I can. In other words, hit the muscle so hard that there must be recovery, and if there's recovery, there has to be growth.
Yes. We all know that's where the struggles lie, and the obstacles. So, what type of mental struggles are you going through in a journey? If you would choose bodybuilding as a journey, not necessarily as a career, maybe as a hobby, but in that journey, what type of mental struggles do you find on your way up the ladder?
I guess all of them. What mental struggles do you have as a human being? Tons, right?
Yes.
Money, relationships, car trouble, rent, work, all of that shit. All of that.
Yeah.
You
see, everybody's connected to this one.
You see, we're all screwed. Don't worry. It's all a mental struggle. But I think the one thing that I appreciate of bodybuilding is that it taught me that you do have control.
Yeah.
Because I know most of you believe you don't have control. Or at least maybe you tell people you have control and then you just go and do whatever the hell it is behind the closed door, believing that now it never happened, right?
Yeah.
If nobody saw it, it never happened, man. You know?
Did it happen?
And but unfortunately, it don't work like that in the real life. If you have certain responsibilities, if you have certain goals, if you decide you're going to do certain things, then you have to make certain decisions. You maybe have to make some sacrifices. You maybe have to get out of bed and do whatever is required for you to reach that. And whatever your goal is, right, if you're not innovating something new, then you have to believe that there are millions with that one goal in mind. So I think sometimes we fool ourselves in the fact of thinking we're special, if I can use the word, that what you have is unique, but what you have is only unique in the sense that maybe it's up to you to change it. A lot of other people are sitting with maybe the same goals, you know, to be a professional bodybuilder, to be the best professional bodybuilder, to you know, to have all these certain goals or whatever. But if you don't constantly apply yourself to being that person that you need to be, then you won't get there. So I think maybe if you can better control yourself, then you can take over the world. If you had to control yourself from 4 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night, or from 8 o'clock in the morning up until, that's power. That is real power. But there's too much chaos in the world for that. So we're just doing it.
We just do. We must. And that is where personal development for me comes in. And what type of personal development do you do?
Okay, so I think the first type of personal development is realizing responsibility. In other words, that you realize that nobody's coming to save you. Whatever you want, you need to go get. I think there's lots of people along the way that will help you, that will see the struggle in you and maybe sort of some sympathy or empathy or responsibility, feel they want to help you. Then thank you very much. Grow and help each other, definitely, because that's what the world wants. It's what we need more of. But at the end of the day, it starts with your own responsibility. Do not be dependent. We all start off as babies as being dependent, right? And then you grow up and you become independent. And then later on, if you've become if you've become to a certain stage of development, then you become interdependent. So people then can start relying on you. So I think when you get to a part where you say, okay, I feel I have a certain ability or capacity to help certain people by literally just listening to them, because I've heard that's a big thing. People want to be listened to, right? You realize that people just want someone to kind of understand their situation, you know. So I think the first thing is, as I said, responsibility, taking that responsibility and kind of running with it. With bodybuilding, that just added discipline. That just added to me kind of a satisfaction in giving small sacrifices, you know, because it's small sacrifice at the end of the day towards your goal. And nobody else is going to sacrifice for your goal. It doesn't make sense. The world doesn't work like it. If somebody's sacrificing for your goal, they are lying. There is some other thing they are getting. It might be ass, cash, or grass, but you ain't getting out for free. No. So I think if you realize that, it's much easier to kind of help people, you know, like the people that I help in my life, the people that help me, it's really a give and take, and we really enjoy. And they've got a good word in Afrikaans. It's a goed gunstigheidsooreenkoms. In other words, if you can't help me no more, I can't be angry about that. I can't point the finger at you and say it's your fault. Nobody on earth has a responsibility towards you, you know, except if, of course, your parents, I guess. They brought you into this forsaken earth. They at least have to look for a certain period, have to look after you, I guess, or bring you up. I've got a son, and it's a privilege, you know. And I think the one thing on earth that we are put here is maybe just to procreate, maybe to put down a legacy, put down, you know, kind of the next of kin, teach them what we have, and then they kind of just do the same thing and teach those what they have. And, you know, everything that we have, we can just talk to each other, and all that's all inherited. I mean, if they had to drop you in the bushes and find you from when you were a baby, they'll see you running around with the wolves. You won't be able to talk. You know, it's not. People sometimes forget how basic you can be if you're not developed. How bad it can be. How easily you can give responsibility or power away. How easily your life can into a bloody mess, just because you try to blame other people for your shit. And if you can really take some responsibility, you can fix a lot of stuff. I work with a lot of athletes that build cages for themselves, and they move between these cages, and they're complaining out of these cages. So you put yourself there. Why not just walk out? Nobody's locking you in there. We always have options in life, but sometimes you don't even realize you're living in certain limiting factors, you know. So I think it comes back to the earlier question you asked me to say, what limiting factors do I get on a daily basis? I think for me, working with a lot of athletes that limit themselves also teach me more about me. Seeing that, okay, so this is what he did. I understand that, because I can put myself in his shoes. And I think maybe that's why when I work with people, I try to what would the word be? I try to have them rather find out. I don't like putting people on a certain path. I'd like to help them to find their own path. Somebody once told me, he did bodybuilding, a friend of mine, he wants to be in a magazine or a magazine. I said, man, what's the real goal? That's a very superficial goal. That doesn't attach it to any other types of goals. I mean, you could have a sponsor, and your sponsor could put you in that magazine. You could win an overall show, and that could put you in the magazine. I said, but you can also have both of these things and not be in the magazine. Yes. So then you spend your whole life and maybe never be in the mag. So rather save up a couple of bucks, pay the magazine, and put your bloody picture in there. You know. So I think if you have goals, go for them. Don't be confused or bullshitted. I think the most important part is setting out goals correctly and pursuing them with the right intentions, not with bad intentions, you know.
Yes, Kobie, thank you. Thank you very much for that inspiration. That was very awesome. If you could have one thing to say to the viewers tonight that they can take home and make it them their own and do something with that, what would that be?
Sure. Put down the bullshit sci-fi and romance and nonsense books and read useful stuff.
Awesome, on the books.
Yeah, I think I read a lot, you know. I listen to a lot of books. If I'm not reading a book, I'm trying to listen to one. I've listened to some good books that have given me great perspective on life. So maybe the best part to work, I think, with people is one-on-one, you know, to kind of understand their situation. So, but if I had to give some advice, there's some books. The Alchemist is a book that I've read. It's very interesting. I enjoy that. Gives you great perspective. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson is also very good. Sure, and I listen to a lot of, I think, philosophy books and stuff like that. I think I like to think about and consider life, you know, and be grateful. I think if there is one rule for life, not just for bodybuilding, it should be to be grateful wherever you are. Because if you are here and you can listen to this, or you can sit up and you can complain about some or other pain or whatever, you are still here. So be grateful for that, because it's a short trip, man. People think it's a simulation. The trip on Earth that we have, in our minds, we think it's a very long time, 60, 80, whatever, how old people get years. But it's actually a blimp, man. It's so quickly and it's over and done with. So don't try and wait for tomorrow and this and that. Pick up a book now and read it. If you wanted to do something, write it down or whatever, man. If you want to start training to better your life and just to start taking, because that's one thing that bodybuilding will do very quickly. It'll put discipline down. That's, I think, the one thing, is that when it puts discipline down, all of a sudden my plans, my meals need to be planned. So now my day has 3 hours gaps in between. So it means now I have these, and you then, I think, realize all the time you have, you know, and that you're maybe wasting a lot of it. So I think if you can, spend your time more effectively, not trying to invoke more nonsensical feelings and thoughts, but more useful stuff, then they might grow some useful things out of your mind too.
Yeah. No, Kobie, that's awesome. And I think what it all comes down to from your side as well is to just make a choice. It all comes to a choice, and we all have our own choices in life. And one choice can change the direction enormously. So for things to change, you have to change. And it's all up to you.
I agree.
Yeah, I wanna thank you very much for this call. Maybe I think if there's someone that's watching that maybe have a question for Kobie, I'm going to give a few seconds. If you can type it there, if one comes up, we can deal with that. Otherwise, in the meanwhile, I wanna thank you, Kobie, for taking this time. And I think I'm going to speak from my side and from the viewers. We've got a lot of respect for what you guys do and how you manage. I could only do it for a few years and could not sustain that, but I learned a lot, and it grew me as a man, and I've got a lot of respect for you, Oaks, and I'm going to talk for everyone there. And thank you very much for everything. I think we've got an answer here. Great into Oaks. Just some thanking notes. Great stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Dankie, Dave. Was lekker om jou te gesels, man. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, we'll sit like a couple of minutes, 1 minute, no, a couple of seconds maybe. See if somebody has some questions. But I mean, yeah, it was nice talking to you, man. I enjoy it. Ja, ons met Afrikaans gepraat het, man. Mense like Afrikaans. Even my pelle in Ierland is almost says, hey, hoor it. Maar ja.
Yeah.
It raised the fears.
To ask you before we go to Michael's question there, give some more time also for more questions. if you, what is it? Just I wanted to ask. Okay, answer the question, and we'll get back to that.
Okay.
About Michael, your address, the fears.
Address the fears. Michael, could you be a little bit more specific? The one thing that I especially I like, or the golden line is, I would say, something that is kind of, they call me the golden line, aka Kobie Pieters. It's, I think, more, the golden line is an ideal to live up to. And I always say, no fear, no doubt. So it'd be very difficult for me to answer how I would handle the fears, because I wouldn't say I don't have any. I'm human. So if I don't like heights, I guess. So I don't get on tall buildings. But I wouldn't say there's anything else that I really fear in the sport. That I do know that people might be worried about, maybe fears could be health risk involved. If it's a health risk thing, injuries. Oh, injuries. Okay. So fears of injuries, I guess. I do every now and again do a little kink, get a kink in the shoulder, but it mainly happens outside of the gym. I very rarely get hurt in the gym. I do train. I try to train with perfect form, to not have injuries. I do stay away from risky movements. I don't train too heavy. I know people have. Some people think I train very heavy, and some people think I train very light. But my training method, I think, is a little bit unorthodox. I do work really hard. I think if I had to, I wouldn't say it's a fear, but I always say that I could die in the gym, man. I train so hard sometimes that it gives me goosebumps. I sometimes go into sets and reps so bad and so hard, and that maybe one day I won't get out of it, you know.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's a fear of mine. I always try to push myself on every set, every rep, every workout. You know, every now and again I take a new athlete out for a spin with one of my workouts, and they're always surprised by we might do two exercises or three exercises, but I mean one set would be about 3 minutes long, you know, or stuff like that, where I'm doing rest pause and drop sets and just kind of pushing to failure the whole time. So it'll still be an hour and a half training session, and it'll be intense. So maybe that could kill me, but if I die doing the work I love, that's okay too, I guess. It sounds terrible, but I do love what I do, and putting in the work and the pain and everything that comes with it I'll strive to that. I'll train legs so hard I wouldn't be able to walk for a week, and I'll probably complain about that because I'm human, and I'll just be making jokes, you know. I'll be walking around all kinky at home like, oh, my legs. But whenever the next leg session comes again, I don't shy away.
Go again.
Then I go again. Now bring it on, man. It's all or nothing.
All or nothing, always.
It's all or nothing. People always think, well, I had a sponsor once tell me, it's, yeah, you know, but it's not, if you don't win. I said, no, man, I don't mean it's all or nothing. I mean the saying that you have to give it your all or nothing. So
yes.
Don't half-ass it, because then your results will be half-assed too, you know, and you won't be able to come back from that. The only thing we really have is time. And if every day kind of slips you by and you're not even having a decent training session every day, what the hell are you doing? You know, what at least then read a book that day, or fucking take the dogs for a walk, or do something that's at least bettering yourselves and bettering something or someone else a little bit in some small shape or fashion, you know.
Yeah. Let's go. I see female golden lion.
Cool, Michael.
Asked a little bit about your TGL clothing, your clothing line.
Yeah, see, the TGL, Pro TGL Apparel was a company I trademark registered, I think 2016 or 17. And I've been working slowly with it over the last 2 years to get it to a level where I feel I'm comfortable to share it with the public and to kind of give a little bit of that, magic. I think, you know, it's a little bit of putting a little bit of what I think made me successful. So it's not a shirt that made me successful, but when I started and I had a sponsor, my first sponsor, I think, was 2013. And I remember just wearing the shirt I had back then. Was the first full sponsorship I had was with Bad Boy back then.
Bad
I'm now
Boy.
with
I
Muscle
remember that
Dynamics.
brand.
Yeah, you remember Bad Boy, yeah. Awesome shirts, man. And I'm now with Muscle Dynamics and Core Urban Apparel. They've been supporting me since 2015, you know. But back then, 2013 was my first sponsor, and I remember just when you're in the gym and you're wearing the clothes, and now you're seeing yourself training, you kind of have that feeling you're not alone. Somebody's supporting you, someone's got your back. The whole world can be against you. These guys got your back, you know. Now, not everybody has a sponsor. Not everybody, I mean, it took me, what's that, 4 or 5 years to get a sponsor, and I was very blessed to get that. And from there, I've been blessed since, of course, you know, thanks to Mohammed and to Ryan. And I've been blessed working with all these people. And I mean,
And
I can't, if I had to even say again.
Titan, I think you were at Titan also before Muscle
Yeah, I've
Dynamics.
been with a couple, with Titan, with USN. Over the years, as I've moved, you know, I first stayed in Kimberley, then in Bloemfontein, and now in Cape Town. And the opportunities have really been great. And and the nice thing is I get along with all these people. You know, I've seen, I do like, I used to work back in the day with Donato and his crew from USA, nice people, with George and them from Titan, and also Ryan from Bad Boy, also a very nice guy. A lot of passion for just helping people. And if I could market their brand and use their products, none the while. It was just awesome, you know, blessed.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it was great for me to kind of feel that somebody's got my back. And for me, you know, I always kind of felt that I was, I wouldn't say maybe an underdog or an outsider, but I think all of us feel like that. But I kind of like to hold on to that idea, you know, even if I'm not, I would kind of hold on to it, because it gives you feel sometimes when you just need it, when there's no energy and there's no this or no that or no, then put yourself against the world. They just make you fight harder, you know. And I think that's why I created the golden line. Kind of the idea is, I like the idea of alchemy, you know, turning normal metals into gold. Or in those days they had the philosopher's stone, was this hidden thing that would help the process, you know. And I think those shirts, in a sense, were philosopher's stones. The small things that happened to me were, in a sense, philosopher's stone, to say that they were added to my life and they just made me better, right? But there's no way for me to put you through the struggles that I've been through and think that you will be even okay on the other side. But
Yeah.
I think if you can foster the idea that you might be alone on this and you're fighting against the world or whatever, but at least not that mindset, that fighting mindset, but to have, to at least try to better yourself, you know, to add something to your life that reminds you of that goal. Because when
Yes.
life happens, it cuts short your goals. You know, people would say, oh, I got sick, or no, I don't have money, or this or that, man. Like, if you can just at least afford the gym and go to the gym, or if you can't afford the gym, you got some weights at home and you can train. And I mean, you can be shredded. You can look great with literally a couple of dumbbells and following a diet. But then again, you would need to have the right diet and the right kind of training idea and know what you're doing. But it is possible. Definitely, it is possible. So you can literally, whatever you have or are in life now, you can better that. You can. So I think TGL Pro Apparel, or Pro TGL Apparel, was just a way for me to kind of, people that see that and do believe in that kind of mindset and want a reminder. I mean, what happens to you every time you put on that shirt? You know, you got the NABBA WFF shirt. You got that from me, right? And that was
The first thing,
2014, 15. What do you think when you pick up that shirt?
2014. That was why I picked it up, to bring back some memories, to spark it again, and it does. And
Yeah.
I get that where you're coming from with your line. Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah, you know. So if you want something to I think that you can, if you want to buy a shirt or a vest, you know, I've got the hoodies out now at the moment. So you can check it on my Instagram. I think my Facebook. I'm never on Facebook ever, but I'm on Instagram. So you can check that out, and if you like that, you can order. I think the shirts are the shirts and the vest V-necks and round necks are $350, and the hoodies are $450. So affordable. And I'm not selling. I'm not making 100 shirts, 100 hoodies. I'm working with 10 and 20 units. And when it's finished at the end of June, the design's done. I'm not doing that again. I mean, that shirt you've got on, nobody can do that shirt again, you know. I've got a shirt like that. I mean, I think there's like 10 in the world of those shirts. It's something that, and that's why you love that shirt, right? I mean, you know, it's something exclusive, something that only you have. So when you go out, that it, and that's what I kind of want to build with my brand, is that kind of idea of, you know, an exclusivity, an exclusive mindset. You're kind of building to better yourself. And whenever you put on that shirt and go to the gym, or whenever you put on that shirt and you're in the public and at a restaurant or whatever, always try to be a little bit better version of yourself. Try to become the person you want to be, but you have to be that person now. You can't try to be it tomorrow. You need to be that immediately.
There's not a better time to start than now. Kobie, I just want to ask you if it's possible for you later after the call, if you can put maybe one or two photos of recent photos in the comments line, if you can post it there so people can just see a bit of what your journey came down to till today. That will be awesome. And then thank you very much for the viewers. And for Kobie, that was awesome. I think you proved my point why I said in the beginning you are one of the most focused and goal-driven people that I know, and I think everybody will agree with me. And thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a great evening.
Thanks, Dave. You too, my friend. It was lekker talking to you. Thanks, Dave. Dank vir almal wat gecheck het. En ja, ek hoop julle geniet die video. 'n Bietjie gesels.
Awesome.
Okay, Dave. Lekker aan my maat.